really brought to the surface the strength and power of the English Premier League, the emergence of the Saudi League now, and also what that's enabling certain clubs to do in the Saudi League, but also maybe how it destabilizes some of the traditional European clubs, with the exception of Bayern Munich, who, as you mentioned, have spent heavily on Harry Kane and are rumoured with one or two more deals before the end of the transfer window ends. I think it just shows the general sense of belief in terms of investing in football, or soccer as it's called in the US, and the likely returns on investment, or the commercial opportunities there are to reach and engage with new audiences. And obviously the Saudi League is changing the landscape in some of that respect by bringing it to a new region, but more likely monetizing it across global markets.
So it sounds like you think some of the European leagues are rattled by what's happening in Saudi Arabia. They've stepped up their spending in football alongside other sports. What does all that do for the country?
Yeah, it's certainly causing headlines, that's for sure. And it's also raising general awareness of the region on the back of the success of the World Cup. I think it also shows that outside of the Premier League, there's an opportunity to maybe start to reconfigure the elite in football standings. You look at what's going on in the MLS and the effect of Messi. That's obviously driving a lot more revenue and brand engagement and reach across North America and Latin America as well through Messi. But then you look at what the Saudi League's doing, and there's an opportunity for it to go both sides. So firstly, increasing reach and engagement for audiences across Asia would be something that we would certainly recognize, but then also like capitalizing on some of the global standings of some of these elite players that they're recruiting as well.
So is this kind of a shake-up going to be good for the game, good for football?
I think it's going to be seen what the longer-term effect of it is. I think what you've seen in this transfer window in particular is that the Saudi League didn't stop at purely getting Ronaldo. Right? Ronaldo was that landmark moment in time. They've had a very, very interesting approach to player recruitment over the summer transfer window, and they've not just signed the likes of Ronaldo, Benzema. They've acquired Ruben Neves for Wolverhampton Wanderers. They've obviously acquired a few of Chelsea's kind of squad players. And then some of the rumoured pieces today around Mohamed Salah, that could be truly game-changing. I think there's the immediate short-term impact on providing certain clubs across Europe with increased budgets to spend on players because they've lost players now. But equally, one of the things that's probably causing the most concern across the European clubs is the salaries being provided by the Saudi clubs rather than the actual transfer fees themselves. Because if you look at the transfer fees, taking Salah to one side for a minute, that they haven't been out of the ordinary. It's just the wages being offered to some of these players is going to be very difficult for them to turn down. And as some would say, there's silly money being quoted and floating around.
Well, when it comes to unusual transfer fees, we have to talk about Moises Caicedo. His move from Brighton to Chelsea, a new British record. And it's probably fair to say that Brighton's not one of the biggest names in British football, but they have been doing well at making big profits on their players, haven't they? What are they doing right?
Brighton's just got a fundamentally very clear strategy and vision around how they want to operate on and off the pitch. They know that they've been promoted. They've gone all the way through the English leagues over the last 15 years, from almost going out of the Football League to gradually moving through. They've got really, really strong, clear guidance from the ownership around what ultimately their business model is. So they're a trading club, right? They've got really, really good recruitment that understands the type of football that the club wants to play. They fit the manager around that structure, and then they acquire players knowing that they may only have them for 2 or 3 years, but they've already identified the next players to then move along into the club. So ultimately, Brighton's got a very, very strong, I'd say, sustainable business model. But nonetheless, it's paramount to them that they deliver on the pitch as well. So without success on the pitch and reinvesting properly, however good their trading model off the pitch is, it won't really matter.
Neil, good to talk to you. Thank you for joining us. That's Neil Joyce, CEO of CLV Group.